Well, I'm glad you could come in today. The tests have come back, and we've got some bad news. What's that? You were believing for a good report? I'm Tim Greenwood, and this is Windows on the Word. I've seen it time after time. A person goes to the doctor or is admitted to the hospital, is diagnosed with something bad, and then they're scheduled for further tests. And then the prayer requests begin to go out, wanting everybody to pray and believe with them for a good report. Does this sound familiar? Don't feel bad. I did the same thing. What if I told you that God never promised anybody a good report? Back when the house of Israel came out of Egypt, across the Red Sea and crossed the wilderness and finally came to the Jordan River, Moses selected leaders from each of the 12 tribes to spy out the promised land. And you know the story. When they returned, rather than report back to Moses, 10 of them returned to their respective tribes with a bad report. Now, as a result, nearly all the people refused to cross the river and take the promised land. You know what they said? They said, "We're not going over there. We're staying right here, and we'd rather die in this desert than go over there." Now, back at the mountain where Moses came down with the tablets, they said they would go. But now they decided not to keep their word. Was God pleased? No. Why? Because you can't please God if you're not operating in good faith. What was God's response? God told them that they would have exactly what they said. And what they said is that they chose to die right there in the desert. So about 1.5 million of them died right there in the desert. Why? Because they were believing for a good report when God never promised them a good report. Don't place your faith in something that God hasn't promised you. Well, if one shouldn't believe for a good report, then what should we place our faith in? Place your faith in what God has promised. If you're challenged with sickness, disease, or an injury that you know God has promised you your healing through His Word, then you should believe for healing, not a good report. A report doesn't change anything. It's just a report. It's a piece of paper. All a bad report should be used for is to more specifically focus your prayers and your counterattack while you are standing in faith for your healing. If you're challenged with addictions, compulsions, demonic attacks, then you should believe for deliverance and not a good report. The Bible is filled with thousands of promises in which you can place your faith, believe for, stand for, knowing that God will fulfill those promises regardless of any report, whether it's good or bad.